What are some of the top neighborhoods to live in Seattle, Washington? If you've ever asked yourself that question and you're thinking about living or moving to Seattle, Washington, stay tuned. Hi guys, and welcome to the Living in Seattle YouTube channel. My name is Francisco Dictado. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. As much as I love making these videos, I'd be much happier if I could help you guys buy or sell a home in Seattle, Washington. I am a licensed real estate broker here, so please feel free to reach out, call, text, or email that phone number and email address below. You can even write me a letter. I'll write you one back. Whatever it takes, get a hold of us. I am the one answering all of the questions, and I do answer tons of questions daily about what it's like to live, eat, work, play in Seattle, Washington. So please reach out to you. Me and my team are here to help guide you through the process, and we'd be happy to help you in any home buying or selling transaction here in Seattle, Washington. In this video, I'm going to be talking my top 3 neighborhoods in Seattle, Washington, and this list is not from a magazine or a publication. It's my own unique perspective and insider's opinion on living in Seattle, Washington, and what these neighborhoods have to offer if you're living or thinking about moving in Seattle, Washington. So stay tuned, grab your popcorn, get comfy, let's go. All right, let's get into it. My top 3 neighborhoods, and by no means is this list taken from any publications, newspapers, or online information. This is purely my perspective and my insider's opinion, being that I've helped clients buy and sell homes here. I've walked these streets and shopped at these stores and ate at these restaurants. So first, in no particular order, is Columbia City. This is probably the most diverse neighborhood in Seattle. There's over 60 languages spoken, and so we've got tons of great cuisines in this neighborhood that range from Ethiopian, Thai, Mexican, Caribbean, Japanese. One of the cool selling points about this neighborhood is that you have light rail accessibility. So this light rail will take you down south to the SeaTac, to the airport, or to downtown Seattle. And this is the only neighborhood on my list that has light rail currently. So that's a really big draw. It helps ease the transportation flow. And so I like it for that reason. But what I like the most is really the vibe that you get while you're walking in and around the neighborhoods of Columbia City. It's an older neighborhood, and it's actually one of the 8 historic landmark districts in Seattle. So you have a nice mix of older buildings, kind of modern, updated commercial spaces. So the vibe is really eclectic. I would say that it's got that old town charm with that kind of urban flavor, if that's the sort of thing you're into. Columbia City has a nice huge park and lots of places where you can walk and stroll with your dog or your pup, go for jogs. You do see a lot of that as you're driving through the neighborhood. Some of the more cooler restaurants are here as well. And being that it's the south of Seattle, you've got great access to I-5 South, obviously to the airport again, and also going down to Tacoma. If you need to get to downtown Seattle, you're on a good day probably 20-30 minutes away, so not that far. So Columbia City, think about it. The median sold house in Columbia City of September 2021 is $800K, so still pretty affordable considering the cost of living in Seattle. Now, if you're looking to buy a condo in the area, that's a little bit more affordable. That's about $400 grand, and that's up about 7% from last year at this time. And the single-family homes are up about 5% compared to last year at this time. So, this is probably, of the 3 neighborhoods I'm going to share with you today, it is the most affordable right now. People still think of this community as up and coming, but I think it's already here, and I think it's got all of that charm and diversity that any thriving neighborhood, would have. So I don't think this is up and coming. I think this neighborhood is here, and it's appealing to a lot of the younger sort of tech employers or employees that have moved into the area because of its diversity and because of the range and style of homes that are available. I mean, there's condos, townhomes, brand new construction. There's $1 million homes out here. And you're really, really close to the shores of Lake Washington as well. So if that price range, isn't yours, there's micro neighborhoods all around there that could fit your budget and would still be close in proximity to light rail and downtown Columbia City. But for the accessibility, the light rail, and the diversity, Columbia City makes my list of the top 3 neighborhoods in Seattle, Washington. All right, next on my list, Ballard. And I don't even know where to start with this neighborhood. I love it so much. Originally, this was a Scandinavian fishing town or neighborhood, and now it's turned into this bustling, trendy, modern, foodie neighborhood that's got tons of things and activities for everyone, all age ranges to participate in. This neighborhood is located about 20-25 minutes north of downtown Seattle, and what's really cool about Ballard is that it's surrounded by water. One of its main attractions is the Ballard Locks. The Ballard Locks also has a fish ladder that is attached to it, which is really cool because you can actually go in and watch the salmon spawn or attempt to spawn. And so the salmon ladder is meant to help the salmon get back to their homes, right? So you can watch the salmon kind of swim upstream and get into the lakes or the rivers or creeks where they came from. So it's a pretty cool spectacle, and it attracts about 1 million people a year to Ballard Locks. The Ballard Locks, one of its main functions is to help boats get from lake level to the Puget Sound level. So it'll rise and take boats up into the appropriate water levels to get to where they're going, whether that's into Puget Sound or out of Puget Sound into, say, Lake Washington. So that's one of the attractions. The other one Ballard has is Golden Gardens, which is another beach in Seattle. So it does have actual sand. It's got some great, fantastic views again of the Puget Sound, and it's a nice place in the summertime to go and hang out, play volleyball. And if you're kind of missing that beachy vibe, this is definitely a place in Seattle where you can go to get some of those sun rays and see some of those beautiful ocean vistas. I mean, you're not going to get raging waves here, but it's a nice park to be at, especially during the summertime in Seattle. So you've got the Ballard Locks, you've got Golden Gardens, you've got what is now one of the most foodie neighborhoods in all of Seattle. So, some of the hot chefs now are making a point to have restaurants in Ballard, and so you've got some great eats over there. Ballard has the most breweries in any neighborhood of Seattle, so bar hopping is great if you're a beer connoisseur. Definitely a neighborhood to go check out. I think of Ballard as one of the few neighborhoods in Seattle that I would actually spend a night in. Being a Seattleite myself and having access to all these neighborhoods is really cool, but I think Ballard, you really gotta take your time, and if you can, stay the night, grab a hotel, grab an Airbnb. The Sunday morning farmers market in Ballard is probably the biggest in all of Washington. So you've got vendors lined up for blocks and blocks, and it's a really cool place, to see all of the produce and the products that all of the Seattle region, Washington region has to offer. Again, it's a great place to shop local and a great place to wake up and on a Sunday morning after you had a nice evening of eating and maybe drinking brewskis, that previous Saturday night. So just a really eclectic, again, diverse. You're gonna hear that word a lot in my neighborhood review here, because you get to see lots of different people from different backgrounds, and it just feels good. It feels right. There's nothing weird about anything over there, which I personally enjoy. So a lot of diversity. The walkability is fantastic. There's dessert shops, mom and pop's joints. Another reason why I really like Ballard is for the shopping. I'm a vintage guy, and so I like going consignment shopping or hitting the vintage shops and finding those hidden treasures, if you will. So Ballard to me has everything: shopping, restaurants. Again, it's got the parks, it's got the Ballard Locks. It's also known for its festivals, and in particular, in the summertime, it has, back to its fishing town roots, the seafood festival, which is fantastic. And lots of vendors come out for that. So there's just a lot going on in Ballard, and obviously there's micro neighborhoods all around there that I also enjoy and would recommend if you're thinking about moving or living in Seattle and you think maybe the downtown Ballard area itself is a little too dense. You've got other neighborhoods that offer fantastic water views as well. The median house price in Ballard right now, as of September 2021, is about $895,000. That's up about 8% from last year. The condos, a little bit more reasonably priced at $475,000, but that is also up about 10% from last year. So, even in COVID, Ballard was still thriving, and now that we're, kind of easing our way out of COVID, figuring out how things work, you can see that this neighborhood is still very popular. All around Seattle and Washington in particular, you have really low inventory, and so Ballard is probably subject to that a lot more because it's such a popular place to be. Its neighboring communities such as Fremont are super popular as well. So if Ballard in itself might be too expensive, or it might be, maybe too much going on for you, don't worry. There's neighborhoods all around there that could still appeal to you while being really close to like downtown Ballard as well. Ballard is, maybe about 20-25 minutes from downtown Seattle, so I like that it's got that proximity. Ballard doesn't have light rail yet, but it is one of the neighborhoods and communities slated to have light rail in the next 10 years or so. Don't quote me on that. I don't know how Seattle Department of Transportation actually figures these things out, but Ballard is one of the neighborhoods in the future that will get light rail, and when that comes to Ballard, it's just going to be another, I think, boom to the neighborhood. But for its diversity, its eclecticness, I don't even know if that's a word actually, but and all the nightlife, all the fantastic restaurants, I guarantee you'll enjoy Ballard. It's a small kind of slice of Seattle, which is all about the water and the seafood and kind of all the things that are trending. So check out Ballard when you're in town. Okay, next on my list, and last but definitely not least, is West Seattle. Probably my all-time favorite neighborhood in Seattle. West Seattle is surrounded by water. It has Alki Beach, and Alki Beach offers some of the most spectacular views of downtown Seattle. Whenever you see shots of downtown Seattle, they're probably coming from the West Seattle neighborhood, and Alki in particular. Just beautiful views that are timeless and iconic. West Seattle also is home to lots of beautiful parks, Lincoln Park to be exact, and that is close to the Fauntleroy Ferry, so you get nice water access in the park and shots of the ferry coming in and out of Fauntleroy. One of the reasons West Seattle has been so appealing to people, I think, is because it is somewhat isolated from the city. So if you want, to have some isolation and be away from the city, but still be very close, West Seattle is the place. It's about a 10 or 15 minute water taxi ride from West Seattle to the Seattle waterfront. There is the West Seattle Bridge that connects West Seattle to downtown Seattle and to I-5, north or south. And in 2020, the West Seattle Bridge got shut down and closed. And to the dismay of many West Seattleites, that added about 40-45 minutes, sometimes an hour, to their commutes. And obviously during COVID, in the beginning of COVID, we weren't sure how things were going to play out, and so there was really nowhere to go, so it was okay. But now with traffic levels creeping back up, it's been a headache. And being that I buy and sell a lot of real estate in West Seattle for clients, we did not know how that was going to play out, but we found out quickly that it didn't affect the house prices at all. In fact, the house prices are up about, say, 6% from last year. So now a median price home in Seattle, in West Seattle, is $730,000. Where it did affect home prices was in the condo sector. That is down about 10% to now $450,000 compared to last year this time in September. And that makes some sense. You know, maybe some people figured that just the disconnect with the West Seattle Bridge just wasn't worth it, and so single folks or people looking for smaller types of homes just didn't see the convenience of living in West Seattle. So that makes some sense. But the people who know West Seattle, who did their research, they really doubled down on West Seattle, and it helped, you know, increase that price point by 6%. And we still have very low inventory here. It's still a very desirable area. And with that bridge coming back in April 2021, hopefully, or 2022, I just don't see this place or this neighborhood dropping in convenience or desirability at all. You're gonna have some of the most amazing water views from this neighborhood. The community itself, even though it's growing, it still has that sense of small town, so you can really get involved in this community and feel like you're a part of it while still being, you know, only 5 or 10 minutes removed from downtown Seattle. The main thoroughfare in West Seattle is California Avenue, and that is where you'll find the Alaska Street Junction, which homes all the restaurants, the mom and pop boutiques. The West Seattle Farmers Market is held there every Sunday year round now. So that's really the main hub of West Seattle. That's where you go to get your eats, to go bar hop, to go shopping, lots of grocery stores in and around that area. And a little pro tip here, if you're looking to buy or sell a home in West Seattle, there's this imaginary line on 35th Avenue, and everything west of 35th Avenue and north of Roxbury, the locals will consider West Seattle. And the home prices will also back that up. So if you're west of 35th, the home prices will jump probably about 5 or 10%, as opposed to if you're east of 35th Avenue, which is still considered West Seattle. But for locals and for home prices, you know, west of 35th is that imaginary boundary line, and that's where everything kind of jumps up in price. But it's also a lot closer. Walkability is a little bit better to like the Junction and grocery stores in that area. But for me, West Seattle, again, the reoccurring theme is diversity. You know, you come to these neighborhoods and you walk around, and speaking for myself, you know, I just don't feel any different from anybody else, and that to me is really, really important, along with the beautiful views of the water, the fantastic parks, and all of the mom and pop joints that you can visit and support. For me, West Seattle is a great place to grow up in, to raise a family. There's many different types of living and types of homes here in West Seattle. You've got the nice mix of condos and townhomes close to the West Seattle Junction, and then you've got obviously multi-million-dollar homes, single-family homes in and around that area. There are micro neighborhoods here that are a little bit more affordable, just like in Ballard and Columbia City. There are always sort of these outskirt neighborhoods that are still really close in proximity to all the amenities and are a little bit more affordable. So, you know, keep that in mind if you're looking to move or, you know, live in Seattle, Washington neighborhoods. There's always, aside from the 3 that I brought up today, kind of outlying neighborhoods that we can get you into if the price point makes sense. But for me, West Seattle for the views, West Seattle for the diversity, and West Seattle for the amenities, just fantastic. Again, Alki Beach is here, so that's a little taste of California. You know, you walk down that boardwalk, there's sand there, there's people playing beach volleyball, lots of restaurants you can visit there as well. It does get very busy in the summertime in Alki, so keep that in mind, and maybe down the road I'll do a video just on West Seattle or just on Ballard. But for today, my top 3: Columbia City, Ballard, and West Seattle. Columbia City, south of Seattle, had the only neighborhood that I spoke of today that has the light rail access. Light rail is supposed to be coming to Ballard and West Seattle, They say in the next 10 years or so. I'm not sure if that's really gonna happen, and who knows at this point with what happened in COVID. The West Seattle Bridge was a huge deterrent for a lot of people moving into or looking at West Seattle as a neighborhood potentially. But what I saw and observed again was people who really knew West Seattle and had decided that's where they wanted to be. I think they saw that as an opportunity to actually buy into West Seattle and kind of weather that storm with the bridge being down. And in 2022, when the bridge goes back up, West Seattle once again will be one of the top 3 or 4 neighborhoods in all of Seattle because it is so close to downtown, and it's a great place to get south. Again, if you're trying to get to the airport, you travel a lot. There's tons of ways to get south from West Seattle and get to like the airport or Tacoma. So, originally West Seattle was a great place location-wise and because of its accessibility in and out of West Seattle. Now, obviously that changed, but all of these neighborhoods, fantastic. I think you can't go wrong. It depends on your price point, where you want to be located. If you're working remotely, these are all great options, I think. Of the 3, I think Ballard is probably the most expensive and the most dense. There's a lot more going on over there in Ballard, a lot more restaurants, a lot more breweries, obviously, but just a great place to go visit and to go see. All of these guys, all of these neighborhoods have Sunday farmers markets, which is great. It's a nice way to help everyone shop local and support the communities that are around Seattle, and so I really enjoy that. And again, surrounded by water. All these neighborhoods are surrounded by water. So if you're moving to Seattle, why not take advantage of being so close to water and maybe getting a water view? That's my opinion. These are my views. I hope one day to be able to take you guys on a tour of these neighborhoods and show you some of these fantastic homes. So yeah. All right, guys, so that wraps it up for this episode. Those are my top 3 neighborhoods in Seattle. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way. And if you need anything, please don't hesitate to call, text, or email. That information there below. You can even write me a letter. I'd be happy to write one back to you. I enjoy making these videos and I enjoy sharing with you what it's like to eat, live, work, play in Seattle. So please don't hesitate to give us a call, give us a shout. We'll be bringing videos to you every week, and we'll see you on the next one.
Sometimes you wanna go